Hello, my name is Ewan Prescott, and my policy is hunting for diversity. The overall objective of my policy is to increase the number of minorities living in the United States involved in conservation, hunting, and fishing. My policy also looks to increase opportunities for urban residents to get involved outdoors and to increase the media's inclusion of diversity in hunting. So the problem that I'm trying to solve with this policy is just the general lack of diversity in the hunting and outdoor industry. Not just in the outdoors and hunting, but also in advertising, hunting television, and media. There's just an overall lack of diversity. This is important because hunting population in the United States has been steadily declining since the 1970s. If you look at this graph, if you just look at the green line, it shows that in 1967, there was roughly about 15% of the population in the United States held hunting license. And in 2017, it's just a little bit above 0%. I'd say about 5%. Hunting and conservation go hand in hand. Millions of dollars from the outdoor industry go towards conservation each year. This graph here kind of just shows the system of conservation funding in the United States and just shows the cycle. But it really shows that a lot of the money comes from ammo sales, license sales, boat fees, and fuel fees on lakes and stuff like that. So being able to add more diversity to the hunting population will be able to increase more funding for wildlife protection and conservation. So the overall description of my policy. So to start, my policy would vitalize and encourage the need for minority representation in hunting, media, and advertising. This is a problem because if you look at the mainstream hunting television shows, magazines, or even advertisements in places like Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, there's just a general lack of diversity. And this is important because people who are trying to get into the outdoors, hunting or fishing, people of color or minorities don't see themselves represented in this area, which makes it difficult for them to get an opportunity to get started in this. Next, the policy employs the Division of Wildlife to fund a Learn to Hunt or Introductory to the Outdoors program. This program would target African Americans, other people of color, and urban residents that don't live or really have access to the outdoors. So the cost and benefits of my policy. The biggest cost would be to fund a Learn to Hunt or Introductory to the Outdoors program. This is estimated around $100,000, and the $100,000 would be for the creation and the longevity of the program. Funding would be at the state level and would be in the form of a state wildlife grant, which is usually given by the DNR. This would be beneficial because it would increase participation in hunting in the outdoors, as well as garner funding and exposure for local wildlife agencies and the outdoor industry as a whole. All right, next would be the stakeholder engagement. So first to be affected by my policy would be the state wildlife agencies. More importantly, the local state wildlife agencies would be more affected. They would be primarily responsible for starting and creating and continuing the longevity of the Learn to Hunt or Introductory to the Outdoor programs that targets minorities or urban residents. They would also be involved with boots on the ground, being the ones really involved in getting people involved outdoors that usually aren't, and would also just bring more inclusion in the outdoor and conservation world. Next, who would be affected would be the hunting media. Producers, writers, creators, and publishers would be affected. Under my policy, they would be encouraged to include more diversity in what is produced, and in turn, hopefully garner more support and popularity from urban residents and minorities in the outdoor industry through advertisements and the media. So finally, the outcomes of my policy. So the expected results in the short term are to pretty much just give more opportunity for minorities and urban residents to get involved, enjoy the outdoors, hunt, fish, and learn more about conservation in places where maybe they wouldn't be able to. The long-term goals would be to kind of almost reverse the declining number of hunters in the United States by increasing and diversifying the hunting population would in turn just create more hunters, more funding for conservation, and a more understanding of the outdoor environment. In conclusion, my policy looks to get my minorities and urban residents outdoors and create opportunities for those who don't have access or just don't live in a place able to access the outdoors. This policy kind of came to be because I've grown up hunting and fishing and spent my whole life in the outdoors, and I've just noticed a general lack of diversity. It's kind of the same people you see out there. So hopefully with this policy, it can encourage more people to get out and enjoy the outdoors.